In simple terms, if there is no Ozzy Osbourne, there is no heavy metal. The blueprint is all there in the first Black Sabbath album. Bands like Metallica do not exist without Ozzy Osbourne and what he did for music. It's a game changer at a time where music was already evolving very, very quickly in the late 1960s. But what he did with Black Sabbath was reinvent, parts of blues music, parts of, what had come before, but with down tuning, with more aggression, with darker themes, being inspired by Boris Karloff and all of these cinema noir things and horror films, and turning it into a new musical genre that more than 50 years later still resonates. I have a 15-year-old daughter who loves Black Sabbath and Ozzy, and I haven't spoken to her yet, but I'm pretty sure she's devastated upon learning that Ozzy passed away because she never got to see him live. I did, but it's significant, and at the same time, you know, Ozzy Osbourne could have easily died many, many times in the past. He lived a life of excess in many different ways. But, in the late 70s, early 80s, he was kicked out of Black Sabbath because of his drug use, because of his alcohol consumption. He could have easily died many times throughout his entire career. And, Parkinson's is what did him in ultimately. I think Ozzy is one of those artists that was able to kind of survive all of the different musical changes through the years and adapting his style. And, some of the 80s album, the later period of the 80s, maybe weren't as good as the early 70s. But at the same time, Ozzy was always able to stay relevant and to stay current regardless of the musical style. And then, early 2000, reality TV arrives, and, he could have easily dismissed it and called it crap, but instead, he had his own reality show and it was funny as hell. Watching Ozzy trying to live this, home life away from the road and away from the excess of it all made for great TV, and watching his family. And, I think part of it was probably scripted, and some of the situations might have been enhanced. But, he embraced reality TV, and is probably responsible for a lot of what's out there today. So I think, Ozzy Osbourne, beyond music, was also able, even in cinema, we've seen him in different settings. I think he transcended, the heavy metal genre. He became the mainstream in a very underground medium. I don't remember the first time Black Sabbath was here because I wasn't born. I know they came here very early on, and kept coming here, album after album. And then when Ozzy was a solo artist, there's something about the Quebec market that loves hard rock, that loves heavy metal, that loves rebellion. I think there's something in the essence of rock music that strikes a chord with Quebecers in general. I know Quebec City is a huge market for heavy metal, for harder rock. So is Montreal. So I think the evolution of the band, and there's something here where when fans of music in Quebec like an artist, they're lifers. It's for life, and through up and down, through thick and thin, through bad albums, through great albums. If you like someone, you like them for a very, very long time. Point,
Yeah.
because the arrival of Black Sabbath also arrives, maybe a couple of years later after La Révolution Tranquille, where the church is being slowly pushed aside. I don't know, maybe there's a change in, I don't want to call it religion, and I don't want to get into, I don't want to offend anyone, but music has that power, and music has that way of gathering people together. And Ozzy certainly was a great showman, and kind of a great guru, if we will, for rock music, for sure. Yeah.